All right, everybody, I'm here with the famous Donnie and the famous helicopter pilot, Allan. We're here to answer your top questions that you guys have had, and feel free to comment more questions in the future, and we'll go ahead and answer those. But for now, we're gonna go ahead and start with Donnie. So Donnie, I went through the questions on the video, and the number one question that everybody had was, who is Donnie and what do you do?
Okay, that's a great question. Who is Donnie Hall? I'll tell you, first of all, Donnie Hall is a God-fearing man. That's the first thing. Then always family, and then country. I'm a strong believer in that. I'm 110% pro-American, and I really believe in having a good time. I believe in community. I believe in putting back into the community. I believe in helping people. But most of all, if you want to see me smile, you say something positive about my children, you'll make me smile. You brag on my kids, you'll make me smile. And that's the same way that God wants us when we talk about his son, Jesus. You want God's favor and you want him to smile, talk about his son. I think that's the most important thing. You can be the richest man in the world, but if you don't have Jesus, you don't have nothing. And I believe that God himself anoints friendships and things like that. But I'm an adrenaline junkie. That's kind of what brought me and Allan together. We hit it off the day we met. I do a lot of water skiing. I do a lot of snow skiing. I've been clocked up to 71 mile an hour snow skiing. And I do a lot of scuba diving, skydiving. I do a lot of hunting, as you can tell, and a lot of fly fishing, and that's who I am. And I am married to a beautiful wife named Kim Hall, which is my best friend. I have 3 beautiful daughters, 2 son-in-laws, a granddaughter, and a grandson on his way. So what do? I work for one of the top 10 largest utility electric companies in the state of Tennessee, and I'm over all their safety and security, and that's what I do. My goal at work is to make sure that everybody has the proper equipment to work with. I make sure everybody's got the proper PPE to work that equipment with, and to make sure, most of all, that everybody in that company goes home to their family every day. And that's my number one goal at work. And outside of the work, I'm a big investor. I invest in a big investment in AI right now, and that's pretty much what I do. I've owned 2 or 3 other small companies, and started off as an old country boy working construction, and followed my dad's footprints, and started off in hanging steel, running cranes, and welding pipe. And that's what I started off doing, and this is where I am today.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Donnie. Now guys, I just got back from an amazing helicopter ride. It was absolutely awesome. It was beautiful scenery. This guy knows how to fly a helicopter for sure. He knows what he's doing. He was also kind enough to take my children on a flight as well, which I thought was pretty cool. Thank you, Allan.
Absolutely.
So Allan, everybody wants to know, what got you flying into helicopters in the first place?
You know, that's a great question, and I've never really answered it to a whole lot of people, but I will today. And it's a little bit of a long story, because when I graduated high school, I couldn't read very well. I mean, barely. I hated school, and I hated school. I didn't realize at the time why I hated school so much, but I realize now I hated school because I couldn't read. So when the teacher would ask me to read, and I'd try to sound it out, and I'd get so embarrassed, and so I just didn't want any part of it. And I did graduate, barely. And about 1999, I started listening to some tapes by a guy named John C. Maxwell, wrote a lot of leadership.
Oh yeah, we've heard
stuff. And he made a statement, said, "Leaders are readers." And at the time, I had started a paving company when I was 19 years old, and I was a leader. And I was good with equipment. I'm passionate about equipment, and I in the early 90s flew airplanes, but I never got my license. I soloed. I was ready to get my license, and my instructor said, "Hey, you need to take the test." And that's the day I quit, because I was so afraid of failure.
Right.
So afraid of not being able to pass the test, because it's hard to take a test when you read like I did.
Yeah.
So 99, I was listening to Maxwell. He said, leaders are readers. And I'm thinking, well, I'm not. I better learn how to read. So I learned how to read, and I was in my basement in 2006, and I saw my old logbook. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to, now that I know how to read, conquer this fear. And so really my story of flying is a personal growth story of overcoming adversity and fear and fear of failure, really. So I got my license in about 3 months. And the next year, I thought, I want a bigger challenge, and it's more challenging to fly a helicopter than an airplane. And so I bought a Bell 47 from a guy in Elizabeth, in Tennessee, and had my rotor wing in 30 days. I flew 50 hours in 30 days. And so the first guy that was training me, I said, hey, I want to fly like 4 or 5 hours a day. And he's like, well, you can't handle that. And I said, well, I understand I can't handle that intense training. But I said, I need to build the time. And I knew that I wanted my 50 hours by the time I got my license, because I wanted to take passengers, and the insurance said you need to have 50 hours before you haul anybody. So that was my goal, and that's what I did.
Yeah.
But I had to get with the right pilot. So I met my buddy Rick Cantley, and he had 20,000+ hours, flew in Vietnam.
Wow.
He said, we'll fly. We flew, it was blowing snow, it was whatever, we flew all the time. And that's the reason I was able to get my license in 30 days, because we'd do training and then we'd just go build time, you know. And so that's the story of how I learned to fly.
This explains why he's such a good pilot. And he does those crazy maneuvers that you all were talking about.
And that's my 8th helicopter.
8th one, wow.
Yeah, I've had 3 of those Gazelles, and
is that what that helicopter is?
it's a Gazelle. That's a 342.
That's a Gazelle, everybody. You were asking what kind of helicopter it is. It's a
342 Gazelle. The other 2 that I had previously were 341s.
Okay. All right, so Donnie, the next big question that everybody had was, who is cutting your grass? Be honest. Who's cutting the grass? Because everybody loved it. Scott's Lawn Care even made a comment about it. So you got to let everybody know what's the secret with the grass.
What's the secret with the grass? The secret with the grass is the legend, Donnie Hall. I'm a grass cutter, okay? Me cutting my grass is my getaway time. I put my headphones on. I'm in my own world. I've got 5 acres here, and I take pride in my yard. I do all the aerating, all the seeding. I do a lot of that myself, and I've had some help since we built the house and the property, getting it maintained, and then I took it over. And but I had started off with a big tractor as we built the house, and then I got rid of the tractor, went down to a Skag mower and with a striping kit, and I do it every day. And I actually like going to the gym 2 or 3 times a week. I enjoy when Friday and Saturday comes around, because that's just my time with my earbuds, with earbuds in, and listening to music, getting away, and just where I can think, I can talk to God, I can think about family, I can think about what I'm doing, but my grass is my personal time, and it keeps me high. So,
And you said you use a Skag?
I use a Skag mower with a striping kit, 0 turn.
Nice, thank you.
And it will fly.
There you have it, that's the secret. So Allan, the next question we have for you is, how long have you been flying, and what was it like learning in the beginning?
Well, since 2006, fixed wing, and then I got my rotor in 2007. And I'll be honest with you, when I first started flying a helicopter, I thought, dear God, I'm never going to figure this out. The first 4 or 5 hours, and because I grew up on equipment, and I was always good with equipment, and in the paving business, I ran road graders and everything, and I thought I was pretty good. So it was a very humbling experience at first. I mean, I was all over. But once it clicked, and it does, some take longer, and I took a while, but it took me, the first 5 hours I was lost. But then after about 10 hours, it started clicking pretty well. And so it was just pretty fast after that, actually.
Okay, cool. So it just came kind of natural to you.
Yeah, somewhat, but not at first.
Not at first, huh?
Yeah, which I thought it would, but it didn't. But now it's,
You
natural.
can do it in your sleep, huh?
Well,
Awesome. So Donnie, another big question everybody had. They're super curious. I mean, what were you doing that day? Were you like going for work, or were you just out golfing? Like, how did you come about just having a random helicopter land on your lawn and take you?
Well, that's a very interesting question, Noah. I'll be honest with you, it was Mother's Day, and our family had all come over for dinner, and we cleaned up, and my wife, she went and put her bikini on, and I went and put my swimming trunks on. Mm-hmm. We got some cocktails out, and we're just enjoying the pool area, and I was laying out there on a float, minding my own business, had some music going. I believe it was Kenny Chesney, and just in my zone, my world, and my watch started vibrating, so I swam over to get my phone. I said, Allan Bracken. I said, hey man, you want to go fly? Let me tell y'all something. Allan Bracken's the kind of guy, he's like a living legend. When he tells you you want to go fly, or asks you if you want to go fly, mm-hmm. you go fly. It's not what your schedule look like. He's talking about now. So basically I jumped up out of the pool. I said, yes. He said, I'll be there in 30. And next thing you know, I'm in a helicopter, and here we are.
That sounds like a really fun Sunday to me. We need friends like Allan. Allan, everybody would not stop talking about how when you took off from Donnie's front lawn, how you just kind of nosedive and just took off like a bat out of hell. Everybody was super, super, super impressed with those flying skills. So what's going on through your head when you do those type of maneuvers?
well, first of all, I'm always thinking about who's on the ground and is it safe. I was by myself. I was light on fuel, and that helicopter's got a lot of power. So it's not a very hard maneuver if you nose into the wind and you're light and you got a lot of power. You can that thing will just climb straight up. Weaker helicopters can't perform like that. So you got to have the right, obvious aircraft. But then it's just fun to get up there and do. One of the things that is interesting about this helicopter, the Gazelle that I have, it came out of the French military. All right, so the FAA requires any aircraft coming out of any military around the world to be put in what's called an experimental exhibition category. Not to be confused with experimental home built, because it's not, it's a factory built aircraft. But the FAA made a provision for people like me that are passionate about warbirds to be able to own them and fly them. And one of the things you're allowed to do is do demonstrations, do fly-ins, do air shows, mm-hmm. and show what the helicopter will do. So, you know, when I'm by myself and I can kind of do a little something like that puts on a bit of a performance type thing people enjoy, I love to do it. It's fun to do. It's not hard to do, that maneuver, but it's just a lot of fun.
Well, you definitely made it look easy.
It is kind of easy and simple, but it's fun. It's exhilarating.
Donnie, you became a very popular man in the last couple days. What's your reaction to all this?
It's, I'll be honest with you, it's been a little overwhelming. Even when I went to work this morning, I had coworkers coming up to me. I've had my children and son-in-laws, some of their friends texting me, Donnie, Uncle Don, you're famous. And I'm like, I'm just your average regular Joe. But I'll be honest with you, Noah. Again, like I said, I'm all about giving back and community. And I pride myself in being a friend. And I just want to say, I want to ask you a question. As your neighbor for 5 years, you've been an awesome neighbor. And I know that you have served our country. As you can see the flags and stuff, my grandfather served on the USS North Carolina in World War II and at Pearl Harbor and the whole 9 yards. But I'd like to know a little bit more about you. I mean, I appreciate what you've done and the things that you've shared with me. And I just want to personally say thank you for giving me the freedom that I have because of what you did. And not only you, but all the men and women that has gave all for us.
All right. Well, thanks. I appreciate that. Well, with that, I guess I'll tell you a little bit about myself. So I was in the United States Army for 20 years. I was in the Green Beret Special Forces, 5th Special Forces Group. I was a 18 Bravo, which is a Special Forces Weapons Sergeant. I served 4 tours, 4 combat tours, 2 in Iraq and 2 in Afghanistan. Retired from the Army in 2020, and now I'm your local real estate agent here in East Tennessee. So, Allan, what's the craziest or most memorable experience you've had while flying?
I've had a lot, but let me tell you the first crazy one. You know, it's usually the first that, you know, you remember the most. And it was before I had my license, before I knew how to fly. I just went out one morning and saw a bird, and I thought, you know what? That would be so cool. And I got, back then they had the trading post. I went down the truck stop, bought the trading post. At the end of it, they had classified deals. So I went down through there and I found an ultralight up on 421. Called my brother and I said, hey, let's go up there. I'm going to buy this ultralight and I'm going to fly it. He said, well, you know how to fly? I said, no, but it can't be that hard. You don't even have to have a license. So I'll never forget this. He wanted $2,200. I got $2,200 cash, put it in my pocket. Went up there. This guy made it look so easy. He pulled this thing out. This was a glorified kite with a motor. That's what this was. Strings, you know, 2 controls. It had a stick here and it had a throttle here. He landed that thing. I got in there. I handed him the money. He said, hey, you want to go down to Johnson City where there's a runway? And you know, I said, no. I was so arrogant. I said, no, man, I got me a place. I've already taken out 2 fences and I took my road grader down there and I've smoothed it up. I'm good. He said, you sure? I said, yeah. He said, well, listen, just don't let this gauge right here, it had 1 gauge at the speedometer, get below 26 miles an hour, you just gonna fall out of the sky. I said, okay, good to know. So it had a throttle, had a stick here in the middle, and that gauge. And your fuel gauge, you just turn around and looked at the jug that had gas in it. It had about half tank. So I'm flying back down, and this thing is so loud. And I didn't put earplugs in. I should have, because I couldn't hear for 3 days afterwards. That thing screaming like 2 weed eaters in the back of my head right here, you know? And you're just out there in the front. It's just like, it's just you and the birds, you know? So I get down to where I'm going to land. By this time, it's afternoon. The wind picked up a little bit. Me not being a pilot, didn't really know what all that meant other than the thing was all over the place. And where I had intended to land, right, there's 2 big trees. Well, that wasn't working out good. So I'm circling around. Well, then, guess what? Everything looks different from 300 feet up.
Yep.
I'd never seen it from 300 feet. I'd been down on the ground, so I didn't notice the power lines and how tall the trees were and what the wind does when you're trying to fly in between 2 trees and land. This was not working out. I'll keep circling. My neighbors are coming out because they knew, you know, something crazy going on. It's probably me involved. They could hear me. I yelled down. Of course, I couldn't hear anything.
Yep.
I circled about 5 times, and I thought, I'm going to land in this cow field, or the hay field that just been mowed. Well, the problem was it had rolling hills like this, and I thought, well, I'll just go down on one of those slopes like that and hope for the best. And I remember the guy telling me, you know, you're going to watch that speedometer. And he said, now when you do land, just keep a little throttle in there. There's no brakes, there's no way to steer the thing, and just the air blowing through the tail keeps it straight. Well, I go to land. It just didn't feel right. Not that I knew what right felt like, because I'd never done this before. But I pulled up, and Interstate 81 was right there, and I barely made it across the top of the trees because I was dropping airspeed quick. So then I dove down over the interstate, and I thought, well, maybe I should just land with the traffic, you know, on the interstate, and then just jump out and run or something. But I thought, well, maybe that's not a good idea either. So I come around, and by this time I'm nervous. I mean, I'm running out of fuel. I'm getting scared. I'm thinking, if I don't get on the ground soon, I'm going to die anyway. So I go up through this valley, and there was a hill. And I thought, that looks pretty good. And I flew right into it. But the problem was, I hadn't taken my grader up there, and it wasn't smooth. And so that thing, it got landed, and it turned sideways, and it ripped the wheels off of it and kind of landed up on me. But I made it down safe. But that's the scariest I've ever been in the air. And I've had more experiences. Even this helicopter, we flew it back in the middle of January from Tahoe, basically, Lake Tahoe, all the way across. And so that's a whole bunch of other stories that were sketchy a time or two, but nothing as memorable as the first time that I thought I was going to die.
I can see that one.
Oh my God.
I would like for everybody to know that Allan is a big supporter of veterans. Allan, you have a son?
I've got a son in the Navy. In the Navy. Donnie, my grandfather was my hero. He was in World War II and got wounded. And my dad was in the Army. My brother's a Marine. My son's in the Navy. But like Donnie said, I really appreciate what you guys have done. Because of what y'all have done, allows us to do what we do. The freedom
appreciate
to
the support.
Fly a helicopter and take friends for a ride. And the thing that excites me the most is giving other people unique experiences. I like adrenaline. I like adventure. And so I use the helicopter as a tool. It's a tool to encourage, inspire. It's a tool to just like giving your kids rides. So when
that was awesome. Thank you.
do our appreciation events, we would focus on not just the veterans, or we did first responders and police and fire, but the families. They get often left out, and make it fun. And so we've done several events through the years. We call them land, air, water, where we do four-wheeler rides and boat rides and helicopter rides, and just incorporate it. Anything we can do to encourage or inspire, particularly young people, to get on a right path, to do something, stay away from the drugs. And particularly now, it's such a problem with kids being stuck on their devices. I have the problem with my kids. It's so consuming. So to be able to be outdoors doing stuff, I think is very important. So anytime I get the chance to take kids up or take people up and give them a unique experience, it's very fun for me to do it, to take people up in the helicopter in the area they live in. Yeah. Because most have never seen from that perspective. You drive around, you think you know where everything is, and everything looks so different. And we live in such a beautiful area to fly in.
It is so beautiful.
With the trees and the mountains. And I'm just, my mission in life is to make the world a better place. And I believe the only way to make the world a better place is if people in the world become better.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
So if we can work together and we can do positive events together and stay positive and have fun together, it makes the world a better place.
Absolutely.
And that's what I'm passionate about.
All right, Donnie, last question for you. This was another big question that we got on the video. Looking back on life now, what advice would you give younger people trying to build a good life for themselves?
That's a very good question, especially in today's world. Me and Allan, we come from the same generation. I'm kind of like Hank Williams Jr. I'm a dinosaur now. Even with today's technology, and I said earlier that I invest a lot in the AI. I don't quite understand a lot of that stuff, but I do know how to do some type of business with it. Mm-hmm. But I'll say this, you're never, ever going to outdo hard work. I mean, with Allan's testimony, I got a little choked up listening to him, and because my dad was a pipe fitter growing up. He was dyslexic, couldn't read real good, but my dad could tear up a calculator. He was a master pipe fitter and was good at math and was good at construction, and I always admired that in my father. And one thing that my dad instilled in me and my two brothers was hard work. And even my wife, me and my wife both come from a blue collar family. My wife worked her way through college. I worked my way up through construction, and then started my own little businesses here and there. And I can't say enough, if you'll build a strong foundation and dedicate yourself, I mean, give it 110%. If you fail, get back up. And I advise you, go and read stories about our previous presidents. Abraham Lincoln, how many times he run and failed. Don't let that stop you. You got to get back up and learn to find balance in your life. If you don't have balance, you don't have anything. Yeah. And most of all, be a friend to somebody. Be a friend, but going back, the best advice I can get is don't give up. Keep on going. And I'll say this, reach out and ask for help. It's okay. Some people get caught up in this word pride, and we hear it all through the United States today, pride, pride, pride. Well, the Holy Word says God hates a prideful man. Don't be so prideful that you can't ask for help. That's how this man became a great pilot. He asked someone, and not only that, he asked someone with wisdom and knowledge. You take Tiger Woods. I love Tiger Woods. You think Tiger Woods, when he was playing golf and learning to play golf, that he hung out with the mediocre golfers? No, he got himself with the right people. And I've seen God bless me through my whole life and putting me with the right people so I can bless and then turn around and bless people back. And again, I believe that mine and Allan's friendship was anointed. I really do. I believe God brought us together. It might be just for this moment, this $8 million views. I don't know what it's for, but I know that God will take it and He'll bless it even further. Absolutely. But work hard.
That's a good point, man. Absolutely. Well, Donnie and Allan, I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedules to answer all these questions everybody just had about you. Everybody's really interested in what you both do, and it was great having you guys on this little show here. And you guys back home, if you want to see some more content like this, and you see some more Donnie and Allan and some more flying videos, let us know, and we'll get it done for you.